Hey, it's Bill Sutton.
And Jason Sutton.
And we're here for another episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. And today's going to be pretty much a Florida-themed episode. Unintentional, but we just have some really good examples of some things we want to talk about in Tampa and Miami. And it just seemed like the right way to do it today. So we'll start off talking about an ad I saw in today's paper that the Rays ran as an incentive for people to buy season tickets. And, you know, with all the secondary market things with people buying from StubHub and different places, it's forced the teams themselves to take a real hard look at how they do their business and to try and create this membership concept. And the Rays are just taking it one step further now, and they are offering, if you buy season tickets, you can have your choice of flying to Miami for a game on a charter to see the Rays and the Marlins. You can have a complimentary catered suite for a Rays game, or you can get a memorabilia collection from Kevin Cormar. So those are three pretty interesting things. And, you know, Jason, what would you think? Is that enough to make you want to buy some Rays tickets?
If I was in the market to buy Rays tickets, if I had that kind of money, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, especially the catered box is pretty awesome. The chartered flight. The memorabilia collection a little bit less so, but I feel like that's something you can attain more easily. But the other two things seem like great incentives.
Yeah, I mean, there's something special about it, you know, and to be frank, I mean, it's not going to cost a lot to charter a flight to go to Miami, 45-minute flight or 50-minute flight, if you will. But the idea that you're going with a bunch of other people in an exclusive fashion to go to the game and then fly back, that is pretty cool. But the best value, obviously, is the suite where you can go with 14, 15 of your friends, watch a Rays game, and have all the food and beverage catered for. So that's a pretty good incentive. So I'll be curious as to what other teams come up with. I mean, everybody's had the bonuses of the membership where you can go to golf tournament or, you know, if you're a Mets fan, you can win the mascot for a day. Everybody's kind of gone on, and this is just the latest thing here. And it's interesting to see how the teams try and win back their market share. So I'm pretty fascinated by it, and I want to follow this and see how it goes.
It is a very tough market because, again, StubHub works pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
and unless you're guaranteed you want to go to every single game, I mean...
StubHub, and I've said this on numerous occasions, StubHub became the primary market, and the team has become the secondary market, and it's because it's price related. If you're going to look for tickets, the first thing you can look is where's the best deal? Where can I get the most for my money? And that's probably going to be StubHub because StubHub isn't paying player salaries and they're not paying for the building or anything else. And they're just buying the tickets and they're able to invest in them and get a good deal and then broker them back out with very, very little cost to go against their profit margin.
And I'm going to assume that baseball is the hardest one to sell season tickets for.
Yeah, 81 games.
You got the most games.
Really, nobody's buying a season. In fact, I would say that for almost any sport. If you're buying a season ticket, 81 games or 41 games, so for the NBA and hockey. You know, for football, if you're buying a season ticket, you probably are going to every game.
You're going 8 games.
But the other sports, you're not. You're actually becoming a broker because you're going to buy your 81 games or your 41 games. You're going to pick the games you want, and then you're going to sell them to your friends or you're going to put them on StubHub yourself. So you, in actuality, do become a broker.
Right, which seems like a problem. Because then you're like, I can just get out the middleman and I'll just go to the broker.
Yeah.
So again, this seems like like I said, the suite seems really awesome. Having got to go to a couple suites from time to time, it's a very cool experience. If you can bring your friends, it's got some cachet to it. And
yeah. Having been to some games in the Trop, I wonder if they're going to continue this when they move in the new building. Because I'd sure like to have a suite in a new building, wherever that may be.
Without a doubt. The Trop is interesting.
Yes. It's too bad. I mean, they've got a great team. They do a great job, and it's just a tough building to play in. And it's tough to get there from Tampa.
It really is. It's tough to get anywhere in Tampa with all the water we have here.
Yes, it is. All right, so what are we going to talk about next, Jay? Where are we going to go?
Well, it's been draft week, NFL draft. It's very exciting. Everybody's talking numbers, hand size, weight, everything else.
And it's televised constantly on the NFL Network.
And I must admit, I do find myself wanting to know. Like, it's the one pre-combine, the combine. Like, I don't pay attention too much to the NBA or the Major League Baseball for sure, even hockey. But the combine, like, I feel like I have some sort of as an amateur fan, like when I hear somebody ran a 4.40, I feel like I understand what that means. Mm-hmm. And I think more so than any other sport, like the NFL's done a good job of making me, the fan, feel like when somebody ran a 4.23 shuttle cone, I kind of know what that means. Yeah. Like they've done a good job of presenting these numbers in a way where I've always been a little frustrated with numbers in sports, just because I feel like you can always sort of explain away the numbers.
Sure.
I mean, you can say, this guy has such and such a win share, but it also applies to a bench player that plays 7 minutes a half, and all of a sudden he's got one of the highest win shares. If you expand his numbers out, he's got one of the highest win shares. And you see other players that at least from what you perceive as a fan, that they're a great player, but they don't look as valuable based on numbers. But when I look at the NFL Combine numbers, and again, I know for a fact from a number of Steeler draft picks over the year, these numbers don't always bear out. But I do feel like I get them.
Sure.
And I can't get enough of it. I hear about somebody, then I want to see where they're going to go in the draft, see if they can somehow manage to find my way to my favorite team, how they could possibly help my team. But it also got me thinking about specifically like some of the rules of these numbers, where they say you never draft a running back in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true to a certain extent. I think it's true to the point where if you're a bad team that has no quarterback and no offensive line, then drafting a running back who's going to play maybe an average of 3 years in the NFL, it doesn't make sense. But if you're a good team like the Cowboys, who accidentally finds himself in the top 10 due to injuries, a guy like Ezekiel Elliott can change your franchise. Or you look at certain backs like Adrian Peterson in his prime. And I know they never actually won anything, but they were very competitive. He sold a lot of jerseys.
So what do you think about
Le'Veon Bell?
So what do you think about John Ross yesterday with the record, setting the record for the 40?
I think my favorite thing was his tweet afterwards, where he didn't wear Adidas shoes. And I don't know if people paid attention, but Adidas said if you broke the record and you wore their shoes, you won an island. And I believe he said in his tweet that he couldn't swim.
Yeah.
So that's why he wasn't upset that he didn't win an island, which I thought was pretty fantastic.
It seemed like an odd prize.
A very odd prize. And it didn't really specify, because I know in video games they gave away an island once. Mm-hmm. And an island is a very not specific sort of designation. It's just a piece of land in the middle of water. Yeah. It doesn't tell you where that island is, the size of the island, or how inhabitable the island is.
I think you put $1 million value on the island.
Oh, $1 million. Okay.
So you could have $1 million so you can have your island.
Right. He actually lost an island.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, again, though, it's just tying into what you said. I mean, the NFL and their partners mm-hmm. are going out of their way to make watching this entertaining, or watching it to give you more things to think about. And really, it all ties back to, a deliberate attempt on the NFL to make the NFL a 12-month sport.
And they've done a fantastic job.
They really have. I mean, there seems to be an event every month.
And people can, like I said, I know that you can participate in the Combine this year. Mm-hmm. They have they've expanded it more so fans can run those drills. Yeah. And again, I'm sure, the hardcore fantasy players. I'm sure they're looking at these Combine numbers and thinking about their sleepers that they're going to draft in the upcoming fantasy football draft. Because fantasy football is not like, again, just like the NFL, when I watch their Combine, I know about the numbers. I seem to care about it for whatever reason more so than other sports. Mm-hmm. Like fantasy football, again, that's the fantasy. I know people play fantasy hockey and fantasy baseball and fantasy basketball. I know fantasy baseball was really the start. Yep. But fantasy football just dwarfs them all. It's not even a contest at this point.
Yeah, you and I played fantasy football, and I enjoyed that. It was, once a week for 16 weeks, and I can handle that. But I just don't have the wherewithal and the concentration and the effort to really do fantasy baseball. I love baseball. I love all these sports, but I just don't see how I would have the time to do that. Right. I'd probably just forget about it. My lineup would just play for weeks.
Because typically with football, you put it in Thursday morning and you're all set for the week, give or take. There's always last-minute injuries and things like that,
but now that we've added the with FanDuel mm-hmm. and DraftKings, maybe that would be a better incentive for me to concentrate and try and be more into my fantasy. I don't know.
Certainly, and I think that sort of brings up the one sort of don't kill the golden goose thing that the NFL is going for. It is that it is just these 16 weeks during the regular season. I know they've added Thursday and Monday and sometimes Saturday, but I feel like the more they keep it a tight small, I can only watch it these 2 days of the week, I follow it greater. I love it more. So I think there's something to be said for wanting more.
Yes.
And
I think marketing.
And it's a wonderful thing that the NFL is going, and I feel like sometimes they want to push it too far, where it's like we'll add games on Tuesday. I know they've talked about lots of different things, but I've also heard they're talking about getting rid of the Thursday night games, which I think is fantastic. Not just because, statistically, those have been really bad games. The players hate them. The players complain about them. The numbers show that those games have not, the teams that have played in those games have not performed the same that they performed on the Sunday.
Yeah.
They haven't had the time to rest, the time to leak off. But again, it's one of those, make me wait till Sunday. Like, let Sunday just be this total day of anticipation where I just sit down and I can just watch it all and consume it all. And I think it's something special that, I understand the need to, we can expand, but there's something for me to want them to expand and not get it.
So what would be the ideal number? You happy with 16 games? You want 18? You want 20?
I'm happy with 16. I'd be happy with 14. I don't want to see the playoffs expanded. I know that sounds like the old man traditionalist, but I feel like they've got something great. And, based on player health and player safety, adding more games just seems silly. Like, you don't want to hurt your player base. That just seems foolish.
No, I agree.
And like I said, I know Thursday night is, that's another network paying for those games, and it's easy for me to say, yeah, they should turn that money down when I know it's in the billions of dollars range. So I know that's not something that business always makes a lot of sense. But I think as far as your product and your players, like, it doesn't seem like that's something they like. It doesn't seem like the games are as good. And I do feel like, even though it gets touched on so many podcasts and so many talk shows, that, the safety of the players, the less injuries you have, it is going to, eventually that's going to affect your fans.
Sure.
I know so far it seems like it, you hear stories that, I'm not going to let my kid play this. Mm-hmm. I don't want my kid to play football. Even people like Kurt Warner, who made his living playing football, said he'll never let his kids play football. And I think those Thursday night games and adding more games, they increase the chances of another serious injury. And I think they need to just sort of scale back as much as possible.
Yeah.
If, again, like I said, it's easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, turn down that, multi-billion-dollar contract from the Thursday night network and just put your games on Sundays.
Now, staying on our football, I was with the Dolphins this week, and I saw their content. I was with I brought a couple of my clients down to look at the Dolphins content, because I think the Dolphins create some of the best content that I've ever seen. They invested a significant amount of money in photography and video, and they're great at storytelling. And they've got a program now called Fin Story, which talks about, last year they had this thing about their fans called Since Moment. I've been a Dolphins fan since. And that really led to some tremendous stories and some great content. So this year they followed it up with Fin Story. And I've seen two now, and I've seen one about a little girl that was involved in a roller skating accident and went in a coma. And she was with, it had a tie to Cameron Wake. And I watched that story. It was a beautiful story. And I saw another one about a gentleman named George who had been a Dolphins fan and yet never been to a Dolphins game. And George had stage 4 lung cancer. So his family decided that they reached out to the Dolphins to take George to his first Dolphins game. And the content was just amazing. It kind of makes you appreciate the impact sports has on people and how important it is in their lives. And I also value a team like the Dolphins that goes out of their way to make a difference in people's lives. I think one of the quotes was, George says, "I'm just an ordinary guy." And the Dolphins' response was, "None of our fans are ordinary to us." And I thought that was a beautiful thing. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. And you watched some of the content. What do you think?
I saw, like you said, they were both really touching and beautiful stories. And I have been somebody that I've always craved the good story in sports. We're bombarded with, all the negative stories, all the DUIs, all the arrests. And again, with like a lot of things in this world, that is a small, small percentage of the players that make up the NFL.
Right.
And too often, the guys that go out and do some really great things in the community, they might get a story in the local paper, but their story doesn't really get told.
No.
And then I think it leads to, I know the national voice, the national concern is just, somebody just yelling and screaming and trying to be heard about whatever. So often it gets to be that negative context. But it's nice to see these stories. And again, these little small, 4 or 5 minute vignettes that they do, the Finn story.
Yep.
It's very consumable. You can watch on your phone, you can watch on your computer. You can show it to people. You can share it. You can tweet the link. It's a good way to get that message out, get that story out. And I think every team, I don't know if every team is doing it, but they're obviously leading the way, and it'd be nice to see every team do that.
Yeah. It makes me, always every year, we talk about it when it's on, but when ESPN does their Make-A-Wish week, those stories that are on that week are just amazing. And this is just this is a continuation of that same kind of thing, celebrating the human spirit. I just love those kind of stories.
And on the same lines, you can see that it looks like photography-wise, they've obviously invested in a good photographer in Miami.
Yeah.
And their content just looks different.
It does.
And it seems like everybody else was sort of and I don't want to disparage anybody's market, but it seemed like they sort of saw, this is the model, we'll just do what everybody else did.
Well, I'm dating myself now, but, when I see most people's photography, it's a sports photograph.
Right.
And when I saw the Dolphins, I thought Life magazine. It's that quality. Time, Life, Sports Illustrated. It's great content,
and it stands out. And it looks different. And I'm sure everybody else will eventually probably follow suit when they see. But again, the Finn story should be something that everybody picks up on and does. And it'd be nice if the national media focused more on those sorts of things as well. I know ESPN will, usually on the Sunday morning Sports Center, they have sort of their people story. Mm-hmm. But it'd be nice if they, again, they have every single segment. Anytime somebody does anything remotely, screws up in any sort of way, like a DUI, or they bump into a ref, they get nonstop coverage for a week on all their shows. Everybody taking a take on what's wrong with this person, why would they do that, what's wrong with people in sports. And again, that is the minority in sports. And assuming that wasn't,
Like today, it was funny. Today, the Knicks, in the first half of their game, decided they were not going to have music or any form of entertainment. They were calling it, if they said the word throwback, but they said enjoy basketball in its purest form. That's an interesting way of presenting it, because an NBA game is pretty loaded and pretty over the top, and sometimes it's frankly too much. And so it was interesting, but how the fans interpreted it, they just given a Nick insult. An insult-a-thon. They were insulting the Knicks. It was nice that we won't hear anything to distract us from hearing all those bricks being laid. Or now we can hear the upper bowl booing James Dolan and tell him to sell the team. And it's just that, there's a lot of, we talk about it all the time. We've talked about it for our third podcast now. We've talked about the passion involved in sports fans and how, how that passion can... it can be really, really positive, or it can be really, really negative. But the one thing it is it's really, really powerful.
Incredibly powerful.
And so just kind of interesting to see this. The other thing I was thinking about is, since we're kind of on our Florida theme, I bought some spring training tickets to go see the Pirates in a couple weeks. And then I was, reading the paper today. And I love the World Baseball Classic. But, I'm not going to get to see World Baseball Classic games unless I'm watching them on television. But I'm not going to get to see McCutchen, Polanco, Starling Marte, Ivan Nova, Josh Harrison, because they're all going to be playing in the World Baseball Classic, so I won't see them in the spring training games I'm going to go to.
Right.
And, as much as I like to see the young talent coming along, I also selfishly want to see the current talent and seeing, what they're up to and how they look and make me feel good about the season. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Without a doubt. But the people still pay for the seats, so...
People still pay for the seats, and it's a lot of people coming down from out of town. I hope they're not going to be disappointed not getting to see, the star players. But, I love, like I said, I do love the World Baseball Classic. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I'll root for the Italian team with Francisco Cervelli, just because they're obviously going to be, a peripheral team at best, but it's kind of fun.
It's a huge underdog.
With our heritage to root for the Italian team. So we'll see where that goes. Anything else you want to talk about today before we go into our food segment?
Well, let's just start out. This might take a little explanation. We decided that for all of our Patreon subscribers, that are brothers and sisters or a circle of friends. Or circle of trust, sorry. Circle of trust. You will get access to a once a month, we're going to do a special food podcast. And we're going to talk about the best places to get food in sports cities. You were obviously, you've been to many cities, you're a big food fan, and you've never led me astray anywhere. I mean, I was thinking about that time I was in New York with my friend Clark, and we were walking around, and I called you. I told you where I was and where I wanted to go, and you gave me like step-by-step instructions on how to get to Virgil's Barbecue Restaurant.
Yeah.
Just,
it's funny, Jason, I get calls probably 2-3 times a month. Somebody will say, hey, I'm in such and such a city. Where should I go eat? You know, I spent, the 7 years I spent working as vice president of marketing for the NBA. I traveled to all the NBA cities except for Sacramento. So I've been there, and those are all, because they're NBA cities, they're really major league cities. So there's a lot of food in all those cities.
right.
But yeah, I still have. We were back for the All-Star game, and the first place I took your mother to was GW Finn's, which is my go-to place in New Orleans. And I've been going there for 16, 17 years, and it never disappoints. It's always a great meal. So I guess we agree. We agree. We talk about.
We'll try to pick three places, give or take. I mean, if we have to mention honorable mention or something, we'll throw it in there. But
okay.
We'll do 3 restaurants in each city. And we'll try to do how do we want to phrase it?
I'd say a dining place, a place to go for a nice dinner.
Right.
A place to go for a casual dinner. And then maybe a fun spot to go for lunch.
Right.
Do it that way.
Yeah.
So since we're in Tampa, and this is our Florida themed thing, let's do Tampa.
And we have the Rays here, we have the Lightning here, we have the Bucks here. So it's a very pro sports city.
So my dining spot, and you've been there, would be La Terraza in Ybor City.
Right. And I actually got to tell you about that one.
Yeah, you did. It was your find. And it's been, every time I've taken somebody there over the last 5 or 6 months, they've loved it. And it's great service, great food, and it's not overly priced. Good wine list, a nice special ambiance. I love when the owner/chef comes out and talks to you and tells you about different things and his love for food and what he does. But that's definitely one of my go-tos. I would recommend La Terraza.
It's a very intimate spot. It's maybe 20 tables.
If that. I don't think it's that. I mean, but it's beautiful. I love going to Ybor. There's a lot of great places to eat in Ybor, and this is a fun place, and it's really good. They're open for lunch, I think, Tuesday through Friday, and they're open for dinner every night, I believe, but Monday. But a great place to go for great Italian food.
And again, it's excellent service. It's the same wait staff there pretty much all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And it's more, the food is just unbelievable. And again, if there's something on the menu that you don't see, but it's an Italian dish, they'll probably make it for you.
And I'm going to throw in my bonus, my other dining option is Benedetto's up on Highway 56, up toward Land O'Lakes. Benedetto's is another place where every meal I've had is phenomenal. And the interesting thing about Benedetto's is it's an Italian restaurant that specializes in seafood and wild game.
And wild game, yeah.
And the seafood there is the best seafood I've had. It's amazing. And the recipes are just tremendous. So those are our 2 dining restaurants. Jason, why don't you talk about our casual dining restaurant?
Casual dining restaurant. This is definitely in my top 5 restaurants just in the world. It's Cristino's. It's in Clearwater. It's a coal-fired pizza and pasta place. It's an incredible value. The pizza is just, I can't even describe it. It's phenomenal. It's one of those places, too, that every time I brought somebody there, they're blown away by the food. And because some people love to hear this, they're also blown away by the price. Like when we get our bill, they're shocked at the bill. I mean, granted, the prices are on the menu, but at the same time, like when they see all the food they get and how good it was, they're sort of like that sticker shock. Like, I can't believe it was this cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they make everything from scratch. Homemade pastas, the ravioli are phenomenal. Like I said, the pizza is just...
Yeah. The family is from Bari, Italy, and the food is just first class. And then our little gem, our little affordable gem, more of a lunch spot, I guess, is Al's Finger Licking Barbecue, again in Ybor City.
Ybor City is a good place to go.
Ybor City is a great place to go. And I love my barbecue. And Al started off with a roadside stand. And he had a truck. and now he's got a little shotgun house that he serves barbecue out of Wednesday through Sunday. Just phenomenal barbecue. I mean, the ribs are amazing. The beef, the pork, the chicken, it's all tremendous.
Really good sauce.
Really good sauce. Great sauce. And the only downer I will tell you is, since Al does all the smoking right there, and it's not an automated smoker, it is a real smoke. It's a real wood-based smoker, right out in the parking lot. And if you've been in Ybor City, there's chickens and roosters running around. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure one of them occasionally finds its way in Al's smoker. But the only downer is that if you go to Al's, you're going to smell, everybody's going to ask you where you went for lunch, because you're going to smell like smoke all day. But I'll tell you what, the food is so good, it is worth it. Absolutely worth it.
And it is just a great little spot. And again, there are many others. And if you guys have any places you'd like to hear us talk about, I'm sure eventually we'll get to every single city, give or take. Mm-hmm. But if there's anywhere specific you want to get to quicker, tweet us, hit us up on the app, whatever you want to do, and we will make sure we get that one as a priority. I don't know if we haven't picked a place up for next week. So.
No. But if somebody's got something, hit me on Sutton Impact. Hit me on my Twitter, or hit Jason on his account, and just say, hey, we'd like to hear about food in such and such a city. And every once in a while, we'll bring in a food guest. This maybe is part of our special food cast. So we got a lot of things going on. But
make sure you support us on Patreon. We have 3 tiers. We have our cousins, because it is Sutton Impact family style. We have our brothers and sisters, and then our final group is our circle of trust.
Our nod to Robert De Niro. So please join and help support this. And we're going to invest the money back into the podcasts. Hopefully we'll get video, better audio, and special guests, and maybe we'll go on the road at some point in time to try and do some things to make the show even better.
Which would be a blast.
Absolutely. Signing off. We'll see you next week. Well, we won't see you, but we'll talk to you next week.